Hello, welcome to our newest episode of the Caucasus Podcast. And today we'll talk about what are the main do's and don'ts when learning Georgian, Armenian, and Azerbaijani. We'll be having examples of all of them, and we'll discuss this particular topic in the newest episode of the Caucasus Podcast. So today I will share with you my experience as a student of those three languages, because right now I'm learning all of them on different levels, obviously, and also as a teacher who teaches languages from the Caucasus. And often, if you struggle, for example, with learning Georgian, Armenian, Azerbaijani, this is one of the items, one of those six things that we'll be discussing today, that very often just stops you from learning very good Georgian, Armenian, or Azerbaijani, or maybe this is something that you should be doing or you should stop be doing when you're learning those languages. So let's check together what those should be included of those in your study routines and which ones you should really think about skipping. So for those of you who are here for the first time, hello, my name is Asha and I'm Georgian language teacher. I'm polyglot. I'll be talking about my experience about that today later on. I'm also Caucasus specialist, political scientist, and for more than 15 years, I have been studying Caucasus. I have been also learning and then teaching Georgian. And I also decided to create Języki Kaukazu, Languages of the Caucasus, which is right now a language school and also publishing house where we teach you Georgian, Armenian, and also Azerbaijani. And we are here in the Caucasus Podcast, so our podcast for you in English, a place to find reliable information about Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijani. And in today's episode, we'll be talking about languages, because very, very often it is like that when you want to get to know this region better, you decide to learn also the language. So that's why today we'll be talking about what to do and what not to do when you're learning either Armenian, Azerbaijani, or maybe when you'll be learning also Georgian. Yeah. So as this is the first episode, I would say the English first episode, that we are also live. So we are recording that live on YouTube, and then you can listen to it on podcasting platforms, or also you can watch it on our YouTube as well later on. So for those of you who are live, in the meantime, if you have any questions, any comments, just put them into chat and we'll go through them in the end of this episode. And if you're listening or watching that later on, do not hesitate as well. There is always option in majority also of podcasting platforms to give comments, to ask questions, etc. So you can share some thoughts or maybe questions from your perspective and something that it is interesting for you as well. Okay, so having said that, I'll move my mic a little bit. And let's look at the first question that I often get. So it is, as we are entering New Year, so the question is, and we have entered New Year, maybe like that, when to start learning the language? Where is the best moment to do that? So, as we are preparing this episode and we are airing that in January, so this is the first episode of the Caucasus Podcast in 2025, it's the moment of like New Year resolutions. By the way, I'm curious because we are already 3 weeks in January. Do you have your resolutions? Have you already abandoned them? Or do you have it already with you? So maybe this is also a goal setting moment for you, something like that. So therefore, some of you may have just decided to start or maybe to come back to learning Georgian, Armenian, or Azerbaijani. So, or as I'm doing right now, maybe you learn all of them right now. So because right now I'm learning Georgian language, I'm preparing for the Swan Translator exams in like Polish, Georgian Swan Translator, and I'm also learning Armenian, Azerbaijani, or I would say right now those beginners levels still. So that's why I thought the beginning of year may seem like a perfect moment to go through the main actions that really help and the main mistakes that people do. And then when they do it, the rumor is spread that Georgian, Armenian, or maybe as well Azerbaijani is hard to learn. And I can assure you that it is much easier than many people say. So what is maybe the best time also to start learning? The answer for that is the moment you decide you would like to do that. Yes, as simple as that. So what you do though, then you adjust the learning process to your actual possibilities. So based on how much time do you have, whether you can participate in classes or not, whether you have to study on your own or you prefer to study on your own. However, everything is doable. Just it is the matter of adjusting maybe also the study process. So let's start maybe with the first top 3 do's. So what to do when learning Georgian, Armenian and Azerbaijani. So the first one, it will be, yes, exactly. The first one, it will be like this. Don't skip the revisions. Exactly, because very often what people do then, it is like people decide to not to revise, but just to learn new things. So some people believe that learning a language is a process of constantly adding new things. Like new Georgian vocab, like new Azerbaijani grammar, like new Armenian phrases that you have to learn. And what you should do instead is to learn a small portion of new study materials. For example, like 1 new Georgian verb, like 10 new Armenian words, or counting from 1 to 10 in Azerbaijani. And then what to do? To revise the new knowledge for like during the few study sessions, not to just go for the new study material. Only when you do like more or less remember and you are able to actively use it, only then add a new study portion. And this is like the main part, something you want to really start with. But maybe you think right now, okay, Asha, but I'll be learning so slow then. The simple answer is no, it's not true, because when you will be after those sessions actually able to like learn those, remember those, and be able to use actively the study material. So it is much better just to look at 5 different topics to be actually able to use in talking 3 of them, isn't it? Yeah, I would prefer it, at least. That's my preference. It's up to you to decide then. So there is some kind of belief that if you see like new words, let's say new language that you're learning, and then you treat it as if you'd already learned this. So I saw it, okay, it means I know it. No, that's not, that is like completely not true. However, you truly know it something when you are able to use it in a sentence, for example, when speaking, when talking with someone. So talking with someone and using those new pieces of knowledge and pieces of information, this is, to be honest, like to be frank, the hardest part in using a foreign language and speaking foreign language, and treat this level that you are able to use it while having a conversation as a benchmark. It means that you know it very, very well. So the next one that I want to share with you, that will be then practice Georgian, Armenian and Azerbaijani with all of your skills. What does it mean? So you may think right now, okay, Asha, but I know revisions, I can try maybe, or okay, it sounds like a little bit fun-ish, but what type of revisions should I do? So I have to confess right now that I do hate just learning by heart, like new vocab. It sounds for me so dull and boring that I cannot really make myself into studying, like starting my study session. And this is someone who knows 8 different foreign languages talking. Yeah, so it happens, but it doesn't mean that I force myself into like learning by heart the lists of words. And till now, I do remember the feeling when I was learning English in my primary school and I just had to memorize like several pages of words for the test I'll be having. And then I was totally convinced that learning a foreign language is one of the most boring and horrible things that you can do with your life. And it's already many years, to be honest, as you may notice, after my primary school graduation, and now I still hate learning by heart everything. And in the meantime, I have learned 7 other different foreign languages. And I'm saying about English because, as some of you may know, my native language, this is Polish, and English is the first foreign language I've learned. So the good revision process includes all. It means like listening, writing, speaking, and reading as well. And I know that for Georgian, Armenian, and Azerbaijani, there are not that many study materials and revision materials as well as they are, for example, for German, for Korean, or for example, obviously for English. But there are a couple of things that you can do on your own. So, for example, listen to an Armenian song and try to find, while listening, just 3 minutes, isn't it, to as many new grammatical forms as you can find in the song, something that you have learned during last lesson. So you may try just picking up. It doesn't matter what is the song about. You just want to find the pieces that you already know. The other option, for example, you can just open any text in Azerbaijani when you're learning Azerbaijani language and find the words that you already know. So you don't have to understand the whole text. Your task is to find the words that you already know, so you have to remember which words you know, isn't it? Clever, yeah? And then only after that you can find those in text, and maybe you can mark it, maybe you can translate it. It's up to you. And if you're learning, for example, Georgian, what you can do in those revisions is that you can create, for example, 5 questions. That just sit and write 5 simple questions in Georgian using 5 new words from the last lesson or study session that you had, for example. So those examples you can of course not use just for like Armenian for Armenian, etc. You can mix it, and those are just examples, and like the sky is your limit here. And to make it easier also, like not only figuring out on your own what to do, in January and in February, we are we are conducting like a monthly language challenge for you. So you can get a cheat sheet. I have mine with me because I'm also participating in a challenge. So this is a cheat sheet that we have sent to all of our newsletter subscribers, and you can get this cheat sheet as well. I have 3 because I'm right now learning 3 languages, so that is why, and mine is already marked with some things, etc. So you can get also like this cheat sheet. This is just one page, like we send it into PDF. You can get it from either just directly from our homepage, or you can find it also the form to sign up for a newsletter and also to get the cheat sheet in the link for the text version of the episode. So you have it as well in the show notes here under this video or audio, and then you can have it for you as well if you don't want to just create it from scratch. It's up to you. And what happens here in this cheat sheet, or in general, you can use our like concept of the monthly challenge also for you. You don't really need to have, you can create your own PDF and your own habit tracker. It's up to you. So we have here 7 different activities, like 7 different activities. We focus on new portion of knowledge. We focus on listening, talking, writing, revision of words, different elements. And then you decide how often during the week we'll be doing each and every activity. So this is the part that you have to adjust it to your schedule. Yes, your study routine, because otherwise it won't work. And then you mark it when completed. So, and in the meantime, of course, you have to study. Yeah. So that is also an option for you as a revision, to have something fun, because not only just to repeat new words, because first of all, this is like, already that for me, this is horrible and boring. But also, despite my feelings towards this way of revision, this can be fun. However, as a 1/10 of all the revision exercises that you can do. It is important when you're learning new things, not only Armenian, Azerbaijani or Georgian, is to have fun with that. Yeah, so if it will be just dull and boring and plain, you won't really learn that much. And it is much more effective and efficient if it's just a little bit of fun and a little bit of enjoyment. You enjoy this process as well. That's why, for example, our students get different interactive exercises, etc. So that is also an option. Yeah. So as I mentioned, if you want also to participate in this monthly challenge, maybe January is a good moment for you. And if you are watching and listening to that later on, the best moment is to start the monthly challenge. This is right now. Yeah, and that's it. So I started mine on 15th of January, and yeah, that's also I didn't want to wait till the end of the month, really, because the beginning of the next month, because then I would be 10 weeks I would lose of time. Yeah, that's what was the point, really. So also, what we are doing in January and February, and that will stay in the internet in general, it is that we are showing you also the examples of how to learn when, for example, even having just 5 minutes of your time. I don't have also lots of time because I run my own company. I teach Georgian as well. I have lots of things going on. So me as well, I don't have lots of time to study, but I just use the methods and the revisions, and then I really see the progress that I'm making. So we'll be sharing that on our social media, and also for Georgian, as we have for Georgian already a separate Facebook group. It is called Let's Study Georgian. So you can join also if you are learning Georgian. You can join our group, and then I will be sharing as well different tips and tricks. We'll be having a motivation booster, discussions, how it is going, etc. So maybe that is an option for you as well. Okay, so that was the second one. So let's go to the third one. The third one, this is what to do is to focus on active learning. Yes, so if maybe you have heard me already saying that the ultimate goal of learning language, Georgian, Armenian, Azerbaijani, whichever you're learning, or other languages, we are not checking that. By the way, you can use those tips and tricks also with other languages, is to able to say something new in the language that you're learning. So when you speak Georgian, Armenian or Azerbaijani, when you participate in a conversation in these languages, so you are using everything you know, probably, yes, in that particular moment. So everything, by this I mean all the grammar that it is necessary to respond or to ask question or to understand what someone is saying, etc. So that's maybe challenging, especially at the beginning. I won't lie to you. Speaking is the hardest part when you're learning language. And that is why the revision exercises might help you here as well. So one of the revision exercises that may help you with this particular part, this is to write your own sentences, to write your own dialogues, to write your own questions. So some questions, let's think what you already know and in which situations you may use this vocab, what Maybe you want to ask, for example, how are you, or where is something? Yes, those are the questions that offer at the beginner's level we are able to ask, and probably that is like the initial things that we would ask in those languages. So you name it, whatever is needed, and whichever like those exercises you may choose on your own, because it is like a rehearsal, like a dry run before a real-time conversation for you. That is why it's really efficient and like effective when you're thinking about the long process of learning also those languages. It is good to, one of the parts of the revisions, it will be for you to write your own sentences. By the way, we have as well like my own sentences. It's up to you whether you speak it, you write it, you revise it, etc. And also we have it in our challenge, and also this is why all of our courses in Języki Kaukazu, languages of the Caucasus, so the courses on Armenian, Georgian and Azerbaijani, in those we also encourage you to create your own dialogues, to create your own texts, to create your own sentences, first writing them, or even just having the words and putting those in correct order, then to write, then to think on your own, then to create the whole dialogues, etc. So it really helps you to also believe in your ability simply to use the language, and in the long run it really speeds up the process of speaking then, and also to responding to what someone is asking you or telling you, and because you've already practiced probably either those particular sentences or maybe the same patterns of creating the sentences. Okay, so those were the top three what to do, and right now let's look at things what are like don't do it. So it will be the most common mistakes when learning Georgian, Armenian or Azerbaijani. And in my teaching career of I think already 13 years or something, I have seen many students, and I know many students. I have not only taught, because I also know like friends of friends, etc. And I know and I have known their study processes and the results of that, which study process, which results brought to those people. So that is why now let's see the way how we can, let's say, minimize the chances of failing in learning Armenian, Azerbaijani and Georgian. Although these languages may not sound very similar to you, there are those top three don'ts are the three most common mistakes in all of three of them. And I will show you that within the examples that I will have in a second. So the first one, it will be, don't skip the handwriting part. Handwriting, yes, with our hand. This is something that we don't do so often. And before I started learning Azerbaijani with Yulia, so our teacher in Języki Kaukazu, languages of the Caucasus, because she's also my teacher, not only yours, I was convinced that handwriting in Azerbaijani is not as crucial as it is in Armenian or Georgian. So in Azerbaijani, if you don't know, Azerbaijani language is right now based on the Latin alphabet with just few letters typical, let's say, to Azerbaijani, or we can say in more generic to Turkic languages or Turkish languages. However, now after learning and like she being my teacher, I can feel and I can tell you that if I were not handwriting in Azerbaijani, I would not have learned so much and so well in such short of amount of time, simply. So handwriting really helped me learning, like pronunciation, helped me writing much faster, and helped me understanding and learning the words simply, or learning the sentences much, and being able to tell them then much faster than it was like previously when I had other teacher a couple of years ago, and we were not focusing that much on me handwriting. And Yulia was the one, to be honest, with like her revision exercise exercises and revision processes that really showed me the benefit of handwriting in Azerbaijani. So right now I can tell you maybe just add one additional part. If you don't know, you learn Azerbaijani and you don't know that much about Georgian and Armenian. Georgian and Armenian, they have their own alphabets. So it is those are different. Like Georgian has a own and Armenian has own, and this is not Cyrillic, although many think like this. So it is not so hard to learn them. However, this is just different than the Latin alphabet. So that is why it may be like a first, I don't know, seems like first showstopper or something when learning those languages. That is why I said previously I thought in Azerbaijani, as we have already this Latin alphabet, is not so critical. However, I was not sure. Like I can tell you, I was wrong there, and I stand corrected right now. So maybe let's go to the question why really handwriting is so important. So when you are writing new words, own sentence, then you create, and you do it by hand, you create so-called muscle memory. So your hand remembers the word you're writing. And this is something that we cannot achieve by just typing the words on our keyboard. And so, for example, what I do when I don't remember and I cannot recall like one word, I think like with my whole body, how did I really write this word? How was I writing this word? And then it is much easier for me simply to recall this word. Like, and I can like write it in my mind, something like that. And also when handwriting, especially at the beginning, you need more time to write. Like, let's be honest, you need more time to handwrite, especially if you're not handwriting on daily basis, because you are mainly typing. So if you're handwriting, you need more time. So then you focus more on this word, you focus more on the study. So you just spend more time and remember it better. And I know that now we are mainly typing, and I do it as well. I very often, majority of time during the day, I just type on my computer and I write in those different alphabets. It is just a percentage of my time. But I can guarantee you simply you will better remember the words when you're handwriting them, especially at the beginning of your study. It is a moment when you may type it. For example, in Armenian, I do both. I have my notebook, I write things, and I also want to learn where the letters are, because with Armenian, right now for me, it's a little bit tricky where all the letters. So I do just simply both. But I started with learning how to write and handwrite each and every new words that I'm learning. So then I hope I have convinced you to at least try to start learning how to and also to handwrite. And it would be really a pity, I would say. That's something that convinces me and many of our students as well, that it would be really a pity to know the language, even you're able to speak it, you're able to read it, but you're not able to handwrite quickly a small note, wouldn't it? Yeah, that would be like something missing there. Okay, so as we are talking about the alphabet and handwriting, the next really common mistake, and something that it is, you should stop it if you're doing this. I will be very frank right now. So don't skip the learning the alphabet phase. Always the first step, if you're learning Armenian, Azerbaijani or Georgian, should be learning the alphabet as such. The sounds and the signs. Yes, no matter whether it's like based on Latin, still in Azerbaijani there are a couple of letters that are typical to Azerbaijani, and in English we just don't have it, or in other Latin-based languages. So you are learning how to read, to write, and to listen. Just the letters. It is the first lesson, let's say. And I don't know anyone, to be honest, who was actually able to learn one of these languages and didn't know the alphabet as such. And I know some people who decided not to learn the alphabet properly. Maybe they know some of the letters, And after months or even years of learning these languages, they were still struggling with using it, with reading, with like participating in the life in this language. So the reason is quite simple. All three of them, Georgian, Armenian, and Azerbaijani, have sounds that you may not find in your native language, and the best and the most successful way for you to learn them simply is to train your speech apparatus as well, to do it like from scratch. When you want to pronounce those letters that you don't have in English, for example, you just have to learn it from scratch based on like you see the sign. And to do so, it is really much better to associate this new sound that you try to produce and you listen to with completely new sign, so new letter. And so then it is not mixed with the ones that you already know in the language that you already speak, because some of them may be a little bit similar, but in general the best is to just focus on totally something new, and then your pronunciation will be much better. So learning in the initial stage, so you can recognize the letters and more or less write them. It is for Azerbaijani, I would say 1-2 hours on average. To Armenian, this is like 4 or 5 hours, because there are like a little bit more letters that you have to learn, that are capital letters and small letters. And for Georgian, it's usually from 3 to 5 hours. You can do it much faster, it depends on you. Those are the numbers on average based on my experience as well. And then all next months and years of learning language, it is just goes much smoother if you just spend those couple of hours at the beginning. So this is our second don't, and the last one for today that I have for you is don't leave the grammar aside. Yes, this is also something that happens quite a lot. I'm not sure why, or maybe not quite a lot, but so often that I'm surprised. Oh, let's say it this way. So the sentence that I sometimes hear from like future students or people who want to learn those languages with whom we talk, for example, before they start learning with us, or they're thinking about purchasing our study books or online self-paced courses, is like that. Asha, I just want to speak. I just want to speak Armenian, Azerbaijani, Georgian. I don't really need any grammar. So the thing is, if you want to speak Azerbaijani, Georgian, Armenian, it is just, and not to throw the separate words like coffee, car, and things like that. Yes, speak this way. You need to know a bit of grammar as well. The same goes for English, but it is maybe for English this is more natural because we hear English everywhere. And the best way to approach it is not to just focus like I spent 1 month just with grammar. No, that's not what we do here. It is to learn grammar in parallel to learning new vocab. So I will give you the example. During our Armenian courses with Anna, she teaches you the forms of the to be verb in present tense, so at the beginning of your study, and then you're also learning the simple sentences creation rules. So saying, for example, this is a cup. Yes, something like that. And so for that you need the word is, or for example, you are a girl. Yes, so sentences like those. Quite simple, but for what you need for those, you need to know the rules how to create the sentence, and you need to conjugate the verb to be. And what you do then, you immediately use it with the vocabulary, and it's like naming people around you and naming things around you, so the vocab that you already know from previous lessons, for example, during learning the alphabet and that you were practicing reading. And you revise it also during classes, during your homeworks. You practice the words that you know already so far within those new grammatical contexts. And only then you go to the next topic that combines, for example, both new words and a new piece of grammar. For example, asking the question, how are you? Yes, so to know to ask a question, how are you? You also need a little bit of grammar. You need to know how to create questions in Armenian. So as a result, you know the rule, you know the pattern that you can also use for other questions, and you are all already able to speak and to use it in quite useful conversations, like initial conversations, asking how are you in Armenian. And then of course you practice. So this is what I mean by learning grammar. You need a little bit of grammar to understand how it is created. So in Azerbaijani, for example, you need to learn the rules of harmony, and because there is like so-called harmony in the language, so that you're able to understand also, for example, even who is the subject in the sentences, who is doing something, and like which endings are the verbs and which endings are not. In Georgian, for example, it is crucial to learn also cases, and of course step by step, and not all of them. So cases, this is like nominative, dative, and things like that, so that you'll know, for example, that the words mankana, mankanis, mankanas, and mankanit, those are still the same word, car, but in different cases. So just the ending is changing. So then, as someone learning Georgian, you are not surprised, like, what the heck? New word appeared. No, it is just the same word. You just know the rule, and you're able to create sentences. So those are three from me. What are the do's and don'ts of learning Georgian, Armenian, and Azerbaijani? I hope to some, maybe I have not convinced you, but I gave you something to think of. I'm curious really what are your do's and don'ts for learning language. Maybe you have your own experience, or maybe there is something that stopped you from learning Georgian, Armenian, or Azerbaijani. So you may think about it, leave us a comment or share with us, or maybe if you are on our newsletter, so the Caucasian mail, you may just drop me an email and share your story. I'm more than happy to talk about it. Or if you're our study group or like Facebook study group about Georgian, so it's Let's Study Georgian, you may go there and also like have conversation with us about this monthly challenge. So just a reminder, if you want also to take part in our challenge, this monthly challenge, and to get this free cheat sheet from our website, you may just go to the link to the text version of this episode, and then you have a form to fill in, so we are able to send this PDF to you via email. And you may start whenever you want. You may, if you were struggling with learning Georgian, maybe this is a good like habit pattern for you to get to start learning, or to come back really to learn those languages. And you may also tag us, not only in January or February, but the whole year round. You may tag us when completing any study portion from also our challenge, and we can then cheer for you. And also we can share it with our community, so everyone can cheer for you. And also for many people, this is like for me as well, because I'm sharing what I'm doing in this challenge as well on our social media. So this is like boost of motivation as well. So if it works for you, there are options like that as well. And of course, if you want to learn with us Georgian, Armenian, or Azerbaijani during group courses, individual courses, or you look for study materials to study on your own for Georgian language, because for Armenian and Azerbaijani we are in the process of making that. So this is already posted on our website on języcznikcaucasu.pl, and the link for that you will find in the description as well. So on our website on języcznikcaucasu.pl, so it is in Polish, it means languages of the Caucasus, the mystery solved. You can find also the spring offer of courses, and if you are listening and watching to that later on, you may find the newest, the most updated option how you can study those languages with us, and also find other episodes of the Caucasus Podcast. Thank you very much for today, and we'll meet in 2 weeks' time in our Caucasus Podcast, the next episode. Just a reminder for you that the Caucasus podcast is created by Języki Caucasu, languages of the Caucasus. You see me here and hear me in the podcast episodes. However, our whole team is preparing that. So thank you very much for today. If you like this episode, or you know someone who is learning the languages or is learning particularly one of those languages, you may share it with them as well. And I'm more than curious of your stories, so you may send it to us as well. Thank you very much for today. See you in the next episodes. Bye bye.